Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, not 24 hours ago did we check back in with the reality of God of War Ragnarok, and there's a whole mess of stuff going on. Cory Barlog fending off various weirdos on Twitter, getting overly aggressive and complete dickholes about the reality of God of War Ragnarok, when you could just have a nice conversation about it. So that is to say that there is more information out there if you start going looking for it, and Tom Tenders Henderson has only dropped some more information over on xputer.com as to what's happening with God of War Ragnarok and various other games release dates, including God of War's collector's editions, and like I said, other games have got some release dates too. So Henders got out there yesterday and just said that if Sony weren't going to drop the official information, he would get out there and do it instead. And so according to him, God of War Ragnarok's collector's edition includes a 1-to-1 scale replica of Thor's Mjolnir hammer, some badges, a map of the world and more, and the Jotnar edition, or the Jotnar edition, is just a hammer in the game. And it seems to be that the game is coming in November the 11th. Now he's able to put that date together based on previous rumors and looking at the calendar for November as it stands right now.
What I love about this story, Scott Elvin, before you continue, is that, you know, in order to get the date for God of War, he's had to leak a bunch of other release dates to put it in context. So it's like 4 stories in one. It's the best way to do stories, I think.
It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah. So right now we have a vague calendar for November that includes a new Need for Speed now coming in on November 4th. There's a previous report on Need for Speed as well from Tenders. He's never called himself Tenders. I just you're gonna keep calling him. I just like the word Tenders. There's a previous report that Tenders has put together with Need for Speed and other games that we will refer to in a second. But yes, new Need for Speed November 4th. Skull and Bones finally arriving November 8th.
Is it though?
Is that game even real? I mean, where's Skull and Bones at this stage? The Avatar game, the new Avatar game, Frontiers of Pandora, coming on November 18th, which all leads Tenders to put it together that the God of War Ragnarok is coming November the 11th, which is the Friday in between all of these other release dates, and Sony have a penchant for releasing first-party games on Fridays when it comes to their big AAA stuff. Now, we'll get to more things in a second, but what do you reckon?
Dude, that's going to be a big month if all of these games drop. Well. You did say dickholes.
They kind of are being dickholes.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. When it comes to these release dates, that's going to make for a packed month. I know you're not looking forward to some of those titles. Maybe Avatar, Frontiers
Avatar's in first person.
Might not do it for you. That's fine by me. We'll get into that soon. If God of War does drop in between all of these games, though, I am confident in saying that it's going to overshadow almost all of them, if not every single release. And I feel bad for Need for Speed in particular, because that franchise hasn't been able to catch a break in like a decade, if not longer, and to come out just before God of War is like, EA, stop doing this to your franchises. Remember when you released Titanfall 2 in between Call of Duty and Battlefield? That was bad. Stop making these games go up against these other bigger games that are just going to stamp all over them.
Do you remember Need for Speed Run?
I don't.
That was when they tried to make like an action quick time event version of Need for Speed. Right. And it was like a racing game, but then in between you were literally running away from the police, push X to avoid the police and dive over cars and stuff, and then get in another car and then drive and do another level.
Quick time events.
In Need for Speed. That was the last time that I don't say cared, but that was the last time I was like, oh, they're doing something kind of different with it. And then all the Need for Speed Run stuff happened and everything else. Anyway, I mentioned in all the reports that Tenders have put together in regards to Need for Speed, which also included FIFA and Skate. And so this was something that said that the likes of Skate and FIFA will be detailed across July. If you were keeping up with the last couple of days on Twitter, then Skate, or EA rather, have already got out there tweeting that there is going to be an early access beta for the new Skate game. And it included a developer update showing various renders and what's happening with that game too. It seems like the game itself isn't going to be coming until 2023 though, but it does seem like it's shaping up pretty well. FIFA, it's worth throwing in, has a release date of September 30th and will be the last FIFA game before they switch the whole naming convention over to EA Football Club.
I think it's EA Sports FC. So yeah, EA Sports Football Club.
It rolls off the tongue.
It certainly does.
So they've got that scheduled for September. And then when it comes to Ubisoft stuff and Skull and Bones, you had a little note down here saying that maybe they'll do it at Gamescom.
Yes.
Because Ubisoft haven't announced anything of their own, and they're one of the only major devs/publishers that are still at Gamescom. Loads of companies have pulled out: Nintendo, Sony, Warner Brothers, etc.
Absolutely. You know, we've seen very little from Ubisoft this year. I mean, even when they announced Assassin's Creed Infinity and, you know, their live service Assassin's Creed game, it was all done via a blog post. It wasn't very fancy. They said they weren't going to do anything, you know, Summer Games Fest related in June. Obviously, now it's the end of June. That definitely didn't happen. And they don't have any kind of solo showcase planned, but they are at Gamescom, so I'm thinking they need to show these games off at some point if they are indeed coming out in November.
Capitalize on the Skull and Bones.
Totally.
Get on there.
Why not, you know, drop them at Gamescom, especially when they are coming so soon.
So let's run some stuff down, because I'll go back over all this stuff. So you've got God of War Ragnarok, assumedly coming November 11th, sandwiched in between a new Need for Speed on November 4th. You've got Skull and Bones on November 8th, and you've got Avatar Frontiers of Pandora on November 18th. Now these are all predicted dates based on insider information, all the sources that Tom Henderson has, and putting all this stuff together. But it does mean a nice jacked up November.
It really does. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to go on the record right now with 2 takes. One, Avatar 2, the movie, is actually going to be surprisingly good.
It looks
I think that's going to be all right, and people are going to be like, maybe Avatar was always good. However, I am also going to say, hot take 2, Avatar 2, the game, won't be very good.
Do you know
and that hurts me. And it's not because it's first person, Scott Tilford. That is not the reason. The reason is, I feel like if it was going to be good, we would have seen more of it by now.
Yeah, all I'm saying, I'm not in a crusade against first person. I was responsible for the community tweet that we put out, asking people if they prefer first person to third person games. Third person won.
Listen. This is going to spiral into a whole other video now. I am old enough to remember when we did a news that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to be first person. And I've never seen a man more disappointed other than my own father than Scott Tilford watching that.
All they needed to do was do the Witcher 3 style game in a Cyberpunk City. That's what that game originally was as well. When all the development stuff came out about that game, just put stuff in third. The reason that I like Avatar is in third person is because the 2009 game, I forget what the subtitle thing for that game was, but it let you do all sorts of cool little flips and spins and acrobatic combat and whatever. Third person is just better, Josh. Especially if I'm going to be a big old blue cat.
Listen, if we're just doing flips and spins, you can do that in first person. I've played Mirror's Edge. I recently played Dying Light 2. You know, that stuff is doable.
I love Titanfall 2 as much as the next person, but I don't know. If I'm going to my Avatar game, I want to see the blue cats.
Right.
I want to know what's going on. But anyway,
I'll tell you what though. Before we move on, just to elongate this video even further, I will say Avatar is genuinely, and this might sound mad because it's a licensed game, like the one Ubisoft game that they have on their slate, like in the near future, that I'm genuinely interested in because I don't know what it's going to be and I don't know how it's going to play it.
That's totally fair. I mean, I was thinking in regards to, do they have like the towers that you activate? I mean, their nearest comparison for a first-person open-world game is Far Cry.
Yeah.
So is this probably built on one of the Far Cry engines? It's maybe like just one of the reused skin models. I mean, they've already kind of done this a few times anyway, with the likes of New Dawn or the DLC that Far Cry 5 got, where you're on Mars and all that kind of stuff. So they've kind of reskinned those textures beforehand, if that's what they're going with. Need for Speed, though, like you said, that franchise used to mean a hell of a lot more. I feel like it's kind of barely recovered from when Aaron Paul joined. And
For the film.
Remember, that should have been like the crowning bit of that franchise, but I feel like a lot of people just went, you know what, I'm not bothered. Like, you should have been. It's Aaron Paul, dude from Breaking Bad. It should have been the reason that it elevated it so much more, but I think a lot of people just assumed it was going to be a bad Fast and the Furious, and then didn't continue with it. And like you said, Need for Speed on the game side just hasn't really been interesting for like a decade.
Totally. I think it's in a really difficult place because it's not that there aren't talented people working on it. Like, absolutely not. Like, yeah, exactly. You know, it's a great team working on this game. It's just that I think it's a bunch of different factors. I think it's the fact that the Need for Speed name has kind of fallen out of fashion over the past few years. Of course, it still has its diehard fans, but as well, like arcade races generally, especially in the AAA space, where are they, Scott? They just kind of died a death, and now we have one or two still fighting the good fight, but they're not where they were, you know, in the 2000s.
No, not at all. I mean, the thing is, like, they, got out there and said that they were going to be doing, well, the Burnout Paradise remaster happened, and there's always an assumption that with a remaster comes some sort of new game announcement if the remaster does well. And the Burnout Paradise remaster, from a couple of years ago now, did top the charts in the UK at least, and that was boxed sales, so that still managed to do pretty well. You would then assume that they would do something with the Burnout IP. Why not? Why is there not a Burnout? You're that cat that sort of pleads. I'm one of them. Do Burnout. I don't know why there's not a Burnout. I would even say if I was Mr. Branding, Mr. Brandon,
you are. That's what I call you off camera.
Yeah, Brandoning. I would do Need for Speed : Burnout. Why not do that? It's right there in front of them. You've got Criterion, you've got all the licensed cars from Need for Speed. Just mash the crap out of them and do a Burnout with the Need for Speed IP.
I would love that.
How hard's that?
Can you remember Street Fighter Cross Tekken? Like, no one, that did not do very well. I think people are just against these. I don't know why they haven't brought Burnout back, to be honest, because I'm the same as you. You know, I have such fondness for that. Even though I played both that franchise and Need for Speed, it was always Burnout that I kind of, gravitated towards. But EA seems to be all in on the Need for Speed franchise, and we're being negative about kind of like the general idea of it, but I do think the game will be solid. I just want it to get like a bigger audience. That's what I think. I just want it to kind of break the mainstream in the way that it used to. I know these games will always be made, but I want to see like the love and attention poured back into it, and that be kind of embraced on the gamer side as well.
Well, they also remastered Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which I snapped up. I have that on Switch and PlayStation. I love Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, but the thing is with that game, you would assume that it's pointing them back towards the idea of the whole racers versus cops thing and whatever. Maybe you can go down that route and do more with that. Because Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the remaster, the later version, there's like 3 versions of Hot Pursuit, whatever. The one that they remastered is the one that takes a bit longer to get off the ground. It's not like an immediate sense of speed. You haven't really been given these sort of incredible levels. It takes a little bit to get going. But the bones are there to do something really cool with the Need for Speed license, or just do a run too. I don't know what you need to do to make Need for Speed work, but they did Payback and it was meh. Then they had Run, whatever it was called.
I don't know, man. Well, that's the one we were just talking about, weren't we? The one QT with the one.
No. Oh, sorry. No, I'm saying Run. Whatever the one was that came after Payback that clearly no one cared about, the one where it was all neon writing in the logo, that one.
Right.
That's the thing. It's been off the boil for so long, and they tried rebooting it a few years ago, and no one cared then either. So this is the most anyone's talked about Need for Speed in quite some time, to be honest.
That's very true.
It is. But anyway, overall, there's a lot more games that continue being penciled in for the rest of this year. Whether they do come true, we'll wait and see. But what's your closing thoughts on the calendar, the catalog?
I thought you were going to say on the cat. I was like, is there a cat game coming out that isn't
there
Stray?
Is, funnily enough.
There certainly is. No, I think if we add all of these into the already announced games that are currently scheduled for the rest of the year, I'm excited for the rest of the year, Scott Silver, and especially if God of War drops in November. I think that's going to be one final like big game to look forward to, and then other things that I'm interested in like Avatar, like Need for Speed and what have you, will be the cherry on top. I think considering a few months ago you and I were saying maybe the year is over, maybe there's nothing of note left to come out, now we're in a position where I personally am really looking forward to the rest of 2022.
Yeah, I back that. I think the middle of this year is still going to be a weird little lull, and then I think once we hit that back third, it'll just be go the same way the start of this year was. But let us know what you think down in the comments below of the various games that now have release dates and where your head is at on God of War Ragnarok. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Cat hands.
Cat hands.
Cat hands.
He showed me this. I don't know what this is.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Might be able to do a thing.